Would you introduce? No? You're the boss of the unicorn.
Okay, which introduce an introduction you want?
Welcome to Unicorn. With you, guest speaker Stefan. Stop being poor.
Microphone is over.
Yeah, it's on the wall. Shit got real. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
How the fuck did I get there?
Wait, how can they watch?
On the group.
Okay, so tell them to go to art. Is it artist or artists plural?
Artist stop being poor. I have to take the other way.
But today we're talking about stopping being poor. I want to welcome your host for today. It's Stefan over here.
Over here.
Welcome, Stefan.
Hi guys, some of you already know, the grand majority know. So welcome to Artists Stop Being Poor. This is the second time we're doing this talk. So it's improvement of the prior version. Basically what we're going to be covering is how to create a business mindset for the creative entrepreneur. I believe that in a lot of senses, the question of an artist is a little bit outdated. It implies that you are a romantic creative that spends all of your time in the studio and just waiting to be discovered. But it's more of an active role where you have to actually look for your own opportunities and create them. I will be doing a lot of allusions to painting during this talk, but this can be easily applicable to music or photography or performance. So whenever I say painting, take it as a blank space to fill out with your creative activity. Okay? Just one moment. Just one moment. The beamers seem to have been turned off. Technical difficulties. It's a live event.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to restart this one.
Ah, this is one little
I'll
one.
restart.
Okay.
But
Yeah, perfect. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so this is Artist Stop Being Poor. As I said, it's about developing a business mentality on how to generate income from your creative career. So I would just like to introduce myself, literally like 2 minutes. I won't dwell too much on this. I am Stefan van Kuik, and I am an artist too, so I really know what I'm talking about. I work mainly in painting and mixed media. I am also a curator, designer, an art dealer, and art consultant. I founded and run Azúcar magazine and art gallery, which since 2012 we've done over 30 or 40 art exhibitions all around, initially Argentina and now Europe. I have my own design agency, Mr. Teco and Friends. I have my own brand of art by Mr. Teco. Okay, so that's enough of introduction. We're going to focus this conversation in three main parts: online efforts and offline efforts, and some things that don't fit quite much in any of them. Initially, I'm going to start with social media. I'm not here to tell you that, oh, you should be in social media because blah, 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 blah. You have to be on social media, period. In the times that we are in, social media is probably one of your best partners, and the visibility and opportunities you can get via social media are significant. Stuff that artists 20 or 30 years ago will never achieve can be achieved today just for the use of social media. I'm in direct contact with a lot of artists whose main art career goes solely out of social media. They don't need a curator, they don't need an art dealer, they don't need a gallery. They just manage their social media, and that gives them a direct access to their public. And this is a public that they created themselves. So it's not a matter of taste. You have to be on social media. Why should I care about social media? A little bit about what I was saying. The old format of an artist career was through an art gallery, an art dealer, or a curator. So basically, when you have to manage your art career through a curator or a gallerist or an art dealer, you're basically tapping into their public. That's not your public, that's their public. And if in the day of tomorrow they decide to stop working, just retire to Thailand, well, you are back to ground zero. But when you create your own audience, that's yours. And there's nobody that can take that away from you. So, tomorrow, if your gallerist retires to Thailand, you still can have direct access to your audience, and your career has not died. I just want to outline that I'm not saying that gallerists or curators or art dealers should die and stop existing. I myself am represented by Art von Frey here in Berlin, and I'm very grateful and very appreciative of the work that Eva does. But I do think that artists should have their own direct contact with their audience. I think it only benefits and it only makes their art practice more powerful when they have control over their means of distribution. So I do believe that the best format is a hybrid between the old school and the new school. Okay, to YouTube or not to YouTube? Basically, nowadays, we're all on our phones all of the time. And I think that the format that's generating best efforts at this moment is video. You can do the exercise yourselves. Post a picture on Instagram, and look into how many likes it gets. Now do the same thing with a video. You will see that a lot of more people will interact with that video than with that photography. It's just a more dynamic form of content at this point. There was a time where photography and photos and images were killing engagement on top of text, but now video is killing on top of still image. So I do think that video is the key aspect for artists nowadays. You don't have to be a video producer, you know. You don't have to have an expensive camera to produce a quality video nowadays. simply with your smartphone and a homemade tripod, that you have access to generate quality video content. I know that filmmakers here will hate that, but yeah, it's quality video. It works. But what kind of video should you be creating? No? That depends a lot on what type of art practice you're managing. A dancer could do filmed rehearsals, live streaming of rehearsals or collaborations, or simply put a tripod with a smartphone on the street and do dance in the street and use that as a video content. An artist can do studio visits without even having a visitor. They can basically film their own studio and put that as online content, and it's a new way to engage with people. Basically, the opportunities and the formats that you can give to video are limitless. So I'm not going to make a list of what you can do with video, just get creative with that. Press. Nowadays, we all are trying, well, most of us has already our public, our audience on social media. But how big can our audience really get? Let's say I have 600 friends, 200 family members, that's 800. How do I get to reach the person 801 to 20? I think that that's where press should come in. The amount of art blogs, art magazines, online art magazines that are out there is ridiculous. Doing a little bit of research, you'll probably find 30, 40, 50, 100 magazines that do fit the work that you're producing. And these magazines, even the ones with smaller audiences, I'm talking about blogs with maybe 400 readers, 200 readers, the beauty of it is that this is all new public. They are not your 600 friends and 200 family members. These are brand new people. So this is a very good opportunity to really put your work outside and in front of a whole new set of audience, a whole new audience. And some of these magazines have literally millions of visitors a month. But even if you start with the smaller ones, it already represents a new audience for you. So the important thing about this is how to send your material to an online magazine. And it's tricky because I've been receiving a lot of submissions daily for years, and most of them are just like blatantly inappropriate. You have to think that first, on the other side of that email that you're sending is a human being. So, hello, thanks for looking at my email. It's like basic. But then, on the other hand, you have to make the job on the person on the other side as easy as possible. So I recommend the format that works better for me when I'm receiving submissions is create a Google Drive folder where you put your images inside of it. Think that this is online press, so 72 dpi and 1 megabyte maximum per image is more than enough. This is not print, so that doesn't have to be high resolution. A lot of people send a PDF portfolio that's very pretty, but it doesn't work. Because then as a magazine, I have to figure out a way to extract all of those images from the PDF and then include it into my website. So please, send the images as independent JPEGs. That way you will be saving the person on the other side a lot of work, and by saving the other person a lot of work, they're more inclined to publish your work. So, the less work you make them do, more likely they are to publish you. Then, also, they would need a bio. Tell a little bit about what you're doing, why you're doing that, your story. Don't drag along, literally like 1 page of text is good. Again, this has to be completely editable. So a Google Docs with a text would suffice. If you put it in a PDF, it usually is shit to copy and paste into your website. So please just Google Docs. It's the best tool to do this. So that's the key aspect of sending your work into magazines. Be nice, because it's like approaching somebody at a gallery. You're not just going to shove your portfolio down their throat. And make it editable. JPEGs and text. Another thing to have in mind is, as I said, tens of thousands of magazines out there. But don't send to all of them. Look into the magazines that at least fit a little bit with your work. If it's a magazine about conceptual dancing, they don't want to see your black and white photography. And the other way around too. So do some research and be sure to be sending your work to magazines that actually have the same line of work. If you do it the other way around, if you send it to all, you will come out as unprofessional and you'll be just wasting their and your time. So do your research. Selling art online. I think that's one of the most touchy aspects right now for artists. Like a gazillion people are online all the time, spending money and buying stuff on eBay, Amazon. So how can really artists step into that and use the internet as one of their selling ports? The thing is, the key aspect about selling art online is telling a story. Nowadays, selling a painting is not just about selling a pretty picture. With all beauties of the internet, you're able to tell the whole story behind it. So, while trying to sell your art online, you should also look into how you can tell the customer or the possible customer what that artwork means, how that artwork was created, where was that artwork exhibited, put some pictures of the exhibition, make some videos, really try to sell it as a product, as a story. You have a whole story, and the end result of that story is this artwork that you're trying to sell. So why just try to sell the last chapter? Finished artwork, JPEG on the web, and it's 70 centimeters by 50, oil on canvas. That's not a good sales pitch. But if you go back to where you did that painting, where you got your inspiration, where that painting got exhibited, then you're selling the whole package. Another thing to have in mind is that, again, as online magazines, there are a couple of hundreds of possible websites where you can upload your art. Saatchi, Artfinder, Artfido, Art whatever. If you do some research, they are hundreds. You don't really have to put your artwork in all of them because it's going to take a lot of time. They're very picky, and you have to put the dimensions and the format and the medium and blah blah blah. Just putting your artwork in these websites makes absolutely no difference at all. You're competing with 100,000 artists just as good as you, or better, or worse. The thing is, if you want to have even a remote success in these platforms, you will have to invest on your whole peripheral online strategy. It's not, the chances are that somebody just jumps onto Saatchi online, finds your artwork, and buys it are very slim. And it would be a matter of luck. And you shouldn't leave your art career up to luck. So the trick is to establish your whole strategy online of communication, press, social media, around these online art galleries. These online galleries will be like window front, but you have to have the brand story behind it. And if you have an effective brand story behind your artwork, it is possible that the collectors or possible buyers will just skip the online gallery and go directly to you. That would mean that you skip on paying them their commission. Important, don't do this with real galleries, because they will be pissed off and they will cut you off their program, and you should be appreciative of galleries that choose to exhibit you. So it's good with online big corporations. Don't do that with small galleries. Another very important thing is establishing new relationships. This one is kind of a hybrid between online and an offline effort. I think that offline, you should be going to exhibitions or events of art fair or on a regular basis. You have to know what's going on out there. You have to have a point of comparison of what other artists are doing, of what other galleries are doing, of what other curators are showing. So you have to have a wide panorama of that. And that would give you also the opportunity of meeting and establishing relationships with other professionals in the art world. From there, you know that it's very common that new opportunities can arise. It's just a question of like being appropriate and how to approach the people, but that's like kind of common sense. Regarding contacting new curators, I would like to invite Jen. She is a curator for immersive events, and she's been doing a lot of great events here in Berlin. And I would like to invite her to talk a little bit about how you should properly address a new curator, and how from that first contact you can start working with this curator. So, Jen, please.
Hello, everyone. Wow. First, thank you so much, Stefan, for inviting me here. It's kind of interesting because I came to this first event a couple months ago, so it's interesting to come full circle back here. And I think this talk is extremely important, especially in today's day and age with everything that's happening right now. So artists need to figure out who they are and come into their art full bloom and really put themselves out there. So that being said, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. So my name is Jennifer Baxter, formerly Jennifer Dutton, and I say formerly because I used to be married. Dutton is my married name, and I did what any logical teenager girl would do, not really, and that is to get hitched at 18 years old. So, at 18, I decided to marry who I thought was the love of my life. Fast forward 1 year later, I moved with him to Hawaii and found myself in this beautiful, beautiful place, Honolulu, overlooking Pearl Harbor. So I had this amazing house provided to me by the military. He was a United States military member. Had a cushy house also provided to us by the military. Had a nice car, had a good job. Pretty much summed up, I had the American dream, if you will. But there was always this constant nagging feeling in my stomach that I wasn't being my authentic self. So fast forward 4 years later, I still had this nagging feeling and it wouldn't go away. I've always been a creative, I'm an artist myself, and having this, cool job that makes decent money was okay, but I was not allowed to express myself creatively. So I decided to do something about it, and I spent the next 3 months really looking within myself and digging deep, and I journaled, I got back in touch with my creative side, I figured out who I truly was. Now, long story short, I determined that my purpose in life was to help everyone, including artists like yourself, everyone in this room, as well as viewers of art, people who go into galleries who are art appreciators, to help all those people to get back in touch with their creative side, their creative capabilities. Because sometimes I feel as though artists do not take themselves as seriously as they should sometimes. I mean, if you think about it, you literally have the capability of creating something new into this world that has never been there before. You have the capability to turn an ordinary object into something beautiful, into something remarkable. You have the capability of taking an insight or an idea and showcasing it to the rest of the world in a unique way. This is a very, very important skill set that people have that I don't think that you truly, truly understand, or else you charge more for your work. No, okay. And then on the other side, you also have your viewers who are also creative. You go in, if you take the time to sit and you look at a piece of artwork, you can truly soak it in and understand what the artist was trying to say, find a new opinion, a new idea, a new insight, and then they can take it into their own work and be creative themselves, whether it be in business, in accounting, in cooking, and whatever it may be. Viewers are also very creative. So I have this purpose now that I found to help everyone to see their creative potential. So now sitting with that purpose, fast forward another year later, and this is where I am now, here in Berlin. I decided to leave everything that I had, every job, or excuse me, my cushy job that I had, my beautiful house overlooking the water, and perhaps the hardest part was to admit to myself that I got married for the wrong reasons, and I left my cushy husband. So fast forward a year, and now I'm in Berlin. And I decided that the best way to live out the purpose that I just explained to you and helping everyone realize their creative side was to become an art curator. So I am now a freelance art curator, and I have curated shows all throughout the United States, in New York, in Philadelphia, in Honolulu, and now this, on the 11th, marked my second show here in Berlin, which I'm very proud of. It's called Nature and Binary, and that was with my company that I co-founded with my partner Marco Locatelli, and that's called Immersive Events. Immersive Events is a company that aims to create artistic events that are different than what people are used to. So Marco and I kind of have this bias where, we don't go against galleries, but we kind of feel that they're a little outdated. You go in, you have these white walls, the artwork is hanging alone by itself. For me, it's missing a connection with the artist and with the participant who's coming in and viewing the art. It's very singular. It's just hanging there, and there it is. I even go into galleries sometimes afraid to talk to my friends about the art because it's supposed to be like this hush-hush area where you go in and you just look and then you leave. So we founded Immersive Events to kind of change all that. We work with small businesses and startups to showcase their product or service in a unique way. Marco and I come up with a artistic concept surrounding that product or service. And then we invite you, the artist, to come in and partake in that creative concept. So for example, the latest show with Immersive that we did, Nature and Binary, we were sponsored by a company called Nanoleaf. I don't know if any of you heard of it, but they have this amazing, amazing product called Aurora, and it's triangular panels that light up in a unique way. So we were given this opportunity to use the product. Mark and I came up with the concept of nature and binary, which is the intersection of nature and technology. So what is nature? Does it matter what the material is? Doesn't matter if it's false, doesn't matter if it's actual nature. What is the feeling of nature? So that was the concept. And then we invited the artists. I think we had about 8 artists to come in and pretty much play. So we had installations, we had a DJ, we had a VJ, amazing visual graphic, visual arts, so fine arts, we had everything. We just invited the creatives to come in and take the concept and do with it what they wanted to. And finally, we welcomed the city of Berlin. So we announced the event and we invited them to come in and participate with the art. So that's the key point that Mark and I felt that typical galleries are missing, that participatory aspect. We want the viewer to come in, you're able to talk to the artists, you're able to speak to the curators, you're able to speak to the venue owners, the small business owners. So this is the new type of curating that I myself am interested in. So that's a quick sum up of me and how I got here. Now, I learned two very important things about art and making money with art. And the first thing is to be authentic. So when I was sitting in those 3 months in my room, journaling, really figuring out who I was, that's what I mean by being authentic. And as Stefan mentioned, the market is so saturated. Everyone and their mom is posting photos. You can draw a sketch and you post it on Instagram. There's a thousand different artists out there, and it's easy to get lost, let's face it. So what sets you apart? What makes you unique? What makes you different? You really want to hone in on authentic creativity. And I call it your curiosities. So you really want to hone in on your curiosities. Now, a curiosity can be anything. You can have several curiosities. For example, mine is space. I'm very interested in space, how things take up space. I'm very interested in light and energy, like waves. So you take these little curiosities, these little things that you question about the world, that you as an artist see uniquely, and you run with it. One of the most powerful things Marco ever said to me was, as I was listing off all these little ideas and things that I'm interested in, he said to make those visual. Make all those little ideas, those thousands of little connections that I know you guys have as you're walking on the street. Make them visual. It doesn't matter how or what medium. Hone in on that curiosity and make it visual. So if you're interested in space like I am, start with a box. I have a box, there's space in the box, right? Maybe I put something in the box. Cool art project, maybe not. Try something else. Maybe I try now a canvas. This is a new space. How can I fill up this space uniquely? So you can kind of understand where you start with, hey, hi Marco. There's Marco back there, by the way, co-creator of Immersive Events. Anyway, so you start playing with all these little curiosities, and this is how you make yourself unique. This is how you stay authentic to your true self. This is how no one else can copy you, and you stick out among all of the other Instagram people online. The second thing that I learned is to be remarkable. And being remarkable, what is remarkable? Remarkable is something that you need to stop and make a remark about. Now, maybe you're driving down the street and you see a car accident. It's kind of messed up, but maybe you can see a dead body. You're going down, but you have to stop and look at it. You have to look, you have to take a peek, because it's remarkable. It is something that you just cannot turn away from. So make your art remarkable. And this ties into being authentic. How do you stick out among the saturated market? I also have this thing, if you know me, about celebrity portraits. So I really don't, something about drawing celebrity portraits is very overdone. You see a lot of different artists doing it. So you don't want to do something that's already being done over and over and over again. You see it all the time on Facebook, on Instagram with your art. Celebrity portraits is one example of something that's being done over and over. So you want to create something that sticks out, that's different. There's a difference between someone who draws a portrait of a German Shepherd, for example. There's a difference from that versus the artist who draws a charcoal portrait of a person's favorite German Shepherd with his favorite toy in his mouth, and then they stick it on a magnet. Very, very selective, very specific, very niche. You wanna stick to something very specific. So link your curiosity and then put it visually. And that is how you're gonna stick out among the thousands and thousands of other artists, and that is how you're going to make your money. Because the businesses are going to come for you. They're going to want to hire you. But myself as a curator, when people are applying to the shows, when they ask me to help them with opportunities, I am looking for artists who are different, who are unique, who has something different to offer. I'm not looking for someone who I've seen before, because in Berlin there's so many different artists, and it's easy to just pump out one celebrity portrait after another, but you want to make yourself different. So that being said, when people ask me, was it worth leaving your cushy life in Hawaii and now being broke and being homeless for this dream that you have, I always answer absolutely yes, 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 yes. You need to realize who you are, follow your dream, and then follow your art, follow your curiosities, and eventually it'll work out for you guys, I promise. So, thank you.
So I guess one of the key aspects of what Jen was saying is about finding your own voice, and how you, by finding this own voice, you can differentiate yourself. What makes, as the example again, celebrity portraits different from a Warhol? The story behind it. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to say with establishing new relationships. You have to be out there and connecting with new people, and some opportunities can arise from that. On the same level, I think that it's very important to start treating the digital and online relationships that you establish as real ones, in a very micro level, just like say hi to your new followers. That will be the difference between you and another 700,000 Instagram artist accounts. It seems, and it is a small effort and a very small movement, but that is a very big step into generating a community. So I think that the more we start trying to treat our online relationships as we would treat people that we meet in a gallery, the more we can benefit on the long term from our online efforts. This is very important as well. This was a little bit of what Jen was telling us about connecting with brands and such. So I think that most of the artists are locked up with this idea that they need to exhibit in a gallery, in an art fair, or in a biennale. But there is 1,000 other opportunities that can be tapped into. Over the last 6 months, I've been curating a series of exhibitions in a Mexican restaurant for Mexican artists, obviously. And the results have been overwhelming. A lot of people there that don't have the tradition of going into galleries were interested in the art. And the sales in these exhibitions in the Mexican restaurant were better than in much of the art fairs I've been to. This is because you're grabbing a completely new audience, an audience that might not be even interested, or they think that they're not interested in going into galleries, and you put art in front of them in a different scenario. Also, let's be completely honest, getting into an art gallery, entering an art gallery is usually a very intimidating experience. It's a huge white hall with a receptionist on her computer that usually doesn't seem very happy that you're there. Yeah, the unfriendly gallery receptionist. So even if you make the effort to say fuck it and go into the gallery and face the unfriendly gallery receptionist, you will have your defenses high. So you will be looking at this artwork with a shield around you. But what happens when you go to a restaurant? There's no unfriendly receptionist in most restaurants. So you will be appreciating this artwork in a completely new mindset. Also, very important to notice is that when you go to a restaurant, you already know that you're going to spend money. So you already got the money spending chip on. That believe it or not, helps in the process of buying art within this different environment. You already know that you're going to spend money, so maybe a painting there, you are a little bit more inclined to think it's a painting as a consumable good, rather than a esoterical, mystical experience like when you go to a gallery. I set the example of me doing exhibitions at restaurants. That's already almost like quite common, but there are a whole lot of other places that could be explored. Co-working space, curating exhibitions here as well, hair salons, and so on, so on. It's just a question about thinking how you can put your artwork in front of an unexpected and completely new audience. When you put your artwork, again, going back to the example of a restaurant, it's like when you post your artwork in a completely new blog. It's a whole new audience that you can tap into. So sometimes you should really look into new ways to exhibit art. I think one of the most important examples of this, and it's already kind of outdated, but it was graffiti in the 80s. Nobody had this experience of how to put art in the walls outside of the gallery. The art belonged inside of the gallery, inside the museum. Graffiti was a great example of how artists decided to break the establishment and think about new ways to promote and showcase art. The results of that can be, well, quite obvious nowadays. Graffiti is taken as a form of art. It's not even a new form of art anymore. It's established, it's sold in the biggest galleries, auction houses, and art fairs on the world, and nobody questions of that, oh, this is street art, or is it the art? Nobody cares. So I think that really looking into new ways of exhibiting art and to new ways where the audience can interact with art could really make a difference in an artist's career. Why should I even try doing new stuff? Well, everybody has been doing the same old things for like 200 years, maybe. And over this 200 years, we had a lot of technological revolutions that can and had a great impact into the career of artists. There was no way that an artist could be showcasing a work in process 200 years ago. There was no way that an artist could develop his own audience 200 years ago. So why are we still trying to do things as 200 years ago? Shown in galleries, shown in fairs, shown in auction houses, and so on. So the new set of technologies and the new mentality of modern times allows us to push the boundaries. So this is the place where we should be playing around new stuff. Talking about new stuff. We all have this mentality that we want to sell to the prestigious collectors. The collectors that usually donate artworks to museums and usually buy works on auction houses. But this can correlate very well with the idea that Berlin has no money. That's a lie. You're just looking in the wrong places. If you follow a little bit the startup scene in Berlin, you will know the obscene amount of investment that some of these startups get. So why not target startup founders as possible new collectors? The famous collectors are already taken. They already buy from their galleries, they already have their dealer friends. So better than trying to steal a collector away from a gallery or from a dealer, create your own collectors. Look into a whole new area of people that have not been in contact with the arts and develop an interest into that. I think the best way to start developing new collectors is with a ladder approach to art pricing. I think it's completely valuable for artists to have works ranging from 200 to 5,000 euros and everything in between. A lot of young artists, for example, have a lot of friends that relate with the artwork and are fans of their artwork, but maybe cannot purchase a 500 euro painting So why not create a product where younger audiences and poorer audiences can consume your artwork? A lot of artists are doing this by generating a line of merchandising that goes along with their artwork. Tote bags, magnets, calendars. It's the end of the year, it's like calendar season for artists. Posters, and one little secret that most artists tend to ignore: magnets. Magnets are gold. Something about like 7 years ago, I did a series of magnets with my artworks, and I still go to friends' houses and they do have my magnets in their fridge. So magnets are more valuable than stickers, for example. So just think outside the box. Artist is much more than paint on canvas. And if you do paint on canvas, why not study the possibility of transforming that piece into a whole series of affordable products? A good tool for this that I've discovered is a website called kite.li, Kitely. Basically what it lets you develop an online shop for merchandising. You can select a whole sort of merchandising that you want to make available. Tote bags, t-shirts, posters, printed canvases. And what it allows you to do is print on demand. So you don't have to buy 500 t-shirts and hope to sell them. You just put them online, somebody buys them, these people print it and send it directly to your client. Zero investment. Of course, some artists will argue that this cheapens the value of art and blah, blah, blah. But I truly think that it is a valuable approach for artists to look into making their artwork available to all ranges of rich people. Of course, you're still going to have, at the end of the day, the 5,000 euro painting, but there's a whole sort of audiences that you will be lagging behind if you just focus on this 5,000 euro painting. Micro patrons. This actually is not my idea. It came from Anne Bengard, one of my favorite artists, and she told me this amazing story. We were back in Barcelona. We were painting on a street art festival there, and she told me about this art lover that just wrote her an email and said, like, I love what you do. I want to pay you 20 euros a month just so you can buy more art supplies and do what you do. And that clicked, you know, it's a patron, like the Medici in Venice, but micro. Of course, you're going to think like, 20 euros, what am I going to do with 20 euros? But what happens if you have 10 20 euro patrons, or 100, or 1,000 20 euro patrons? I think that is a new way, severely undervalued, of connecting with your audience. There is this great platform called Patreon that allows you just to do that. They charge like 5%, and they allow you to create a series of rewards for people to become patrons of you. Yeah, that's the name. So basically, you can have people pay you 20 euros a month and come to your studio, visit you once a month. Or maybe they pay you 50 and they go out to dinner with you once a month. Or maybe they pay 200 and you paint a portrait of them every 6 months. It's a whole new way to interact with your audience that has not been yet completely developed. This idea that normal people can help forge the career of an artist is new. In the past, we had patrons that spent thousands of hundreds of thousands of euros on artists in developing their career. But again, with the internet, we have the whole immerse of crowdfunding. So why not adopt those technologies into our art careers? Crowdfunding projects has been used by artists in the past. Mariana Abramovic raised 2 million euros to build art funds, art building foundation. She decided not to build the art foundation, and she didn't give back the $2 million, but who's keeping charge, right? I'm not telling you to do this. Do your projects or get the money back. But look into possibilities to make your art lovers part of the process. You know, if you have them send you €5 a month to buy art supplies, take a picture of the brand new paint that you bought and say, thanks to James, he sent me $5 to buy this. Again, it's generating a sense of community, and that's very valuable at the end of the day. Again, and trail your individual path. You know, as Jen was saying, how many celebrity portrait painters do we have? I'm guilty. I did a portrait of Prince and one of Kanye West. So, completely unoriginal, I know, but I think that each artist, even if you're a celebrity portrait painter, nothing against, nobody's judging, just find a way to tell your story differently. Even if you're copying people that have been doing stuff similarly before, let's be honest, it's 2017, you know, it's very hard to do anything remotely original nowadays. You're probably going to end up copying somebody. Just make a new story for it and copy along. That's the main thing. Just find your individual voice and explore it. And I think that's a little bit what I wanted to talk about. I would like to open a little bit the floor for questions, commentaries, get a discussion going. So anybody has questions they would like to do, now's the time. There.
Hi. So, how would you suggest that analysis prices their own work?
That's a very personal question.
What
No. About pricing your own work, how an artist should price their own work. There are a lot of equations that you can do about size by how famous you are. I think that you should look into your past sales into pricing artwork. If you sold 3 paintings in a row for €5,000, don't make it 200. But in the other way around, if you made 3 paintings for selling them for 200, you cannot look into selling them for 5,000. I do think that clear pricing is very important. I think that's one of the main weaknesses of galleries nowadays, is that you have to ask for the price, and that's the first barrier. People are super ashamed of asking the price because they're ashamed of looking dumb. You can go and ask something and they will say, oh, this is 200 million euros. You cannot keep a straight face if somebody tells you that price. So I do think that evaluate, of course, factors as where you are in your career, what exhibitions have you done, and grow your prices, but grow them organically. So don't be anxious to make the $1 million sale. If you did a €100,000 sale, go for the 110, not straight for the million. So make your pricings grow exponentially, except if you're doing a piece that's 10 times bigger or 10 times more important or 10 times more costly. You know, always taking in consideration the costs of your artwork, because you don't want to be in a loss. But grow your prices exponentially in consideration of what you've been doing in the past and your past sales. And ladder your prices, 200, 500, 1,000, 1,500, and 5,000. So you can afford, so everybody can afford your artworks at the end of the day.
So what's the minimum? Obviously, the upper is half of writing.
It is very complicated. You can be creating a lot of purposely cheaper works in large quantities. So you might be interested in doing artworks for 50 euros, but selling 1,000 of them. You know, there's no minimum. You know, of course, it's different if you want to label it as fine art or merchandising. So selling a postcard for 5 euros, okay. selling a painting for €5, okay as well, but less okay. You know, it's a question of analysis. I got very critiqued a lot of times working with artists when I say that I think that their prices are too high. They take it as a personal offense somehow. It kind of is. But look into your sale history and how this artwork that you're trying to price fits within your sale history. So it's not a very precise answer, I know, but look into your soul. Just kidding. Rafi.
For young artists, what about this artist institution like GEMA or CASP? Is it like a benefit of it?
Well, I think it's very valuable to work with institutions as long as they're not screwing you over. I think that institutions are important because well, they're institutions. They have the funds, the visibility that you can tap into that. If you think that they're not making a good deal, screw them and make your own path. Just don't make them run over just because they're institutions. So if you think that an institution is not offering you a good deal in an exhibition or a music deal, do your own path. You don't need them. Just work with institutions if it's beneficial for you. Yes?
I have two questions. One's even more personal. First, I'd like to know, you were talking about people maybe coming straight past the venue directly to you. What's important? So I have two questions. One's even more personal than the last one. When you talk about people coming directly past the venue to you, what's important to have on your website or your portal? What do you think about? And the other one is, if you want to tell us, what sort of proportions does your income come from?
Sure. Okay. So, website, basically, you should have some examples of works, a lot. CV of what you've been doing in the past. It's always nice to have works that are available for sale with their information, price-wise, contact information, and that's basically it. It's like, it's not rocket science, just copy what other websites of artists are doing. Think about it almost like as a business or a shop's website. Just instead of their products, your products. So, and I do think that it is valuable to maybe have an online shop in your website, but that could be a little bit of hassle and work in the programming and development side. There are free tools. I would recommend maybe, I'm a big fan of WordPress. You can do it all for free and build your own shop there. But maybe you don't need all the functionalities of shops, such as automatic tax and automatic delivery and credit card and whatnot. Maybe you can just put pictures of the artworks that are for sale and make them contact you directly. I think that's a good aspect to have. Be very careful with what they call SEO, search engine optimization. You can read a couple of tutorials online of how to really look into making your website as findable as possible. Just like very basic tips, just as like naming all your images within the website as your artist's name, so it makes it easier to get it Googled. So that would be it. You can have a way more complex website, especially if you're going to dive into selling merchandising, posters, postcards, whatnot. It is interesting to have that functionality as an online shop because it saves you all the back and forth with the client about saying like, oh, but you have this t-shirt in M. No, they can just like click, oh yeah, once it's an M, they have it done. So if you're really looking into what I like to call a small sale artist, go and really develop an e-commerce shop. If you want to focus on just selling paintings, it's a lesser volume of sales every month. So then maybe you don't need a whole functionality. About my income, I would say 40 to 60% come from design, and again 30 from art dealing and 30 from my own art, but it varies a lot. Christmas is a good time for selling art. Yes.
Hi, what do you think of Facebook sales, selling on Facebook? Does it work? How does it work? Is it good or not?
Facebook is cool, but Instagram is cooler. So, question is, yes, put your artwork there. Facebook used to be, the demographic of Facebook used to be younger audiences, especially in the first, I don't know how old Facebook is, but half of it. Facebook becoming more popular, and now all the demographics have been getting on Facebook. So it could represent, it's no longer a place just for broke teenagers. So there is a serious audience that you can tap into Facebook. Just don't do Facebook alone. Make it as one of your shops. You know? Facebook has implemented a whole very versatile functionality of shop, which allows you to easily sell online. So I think it's a valuable tool to look into. If you have a Facebook page, you can create a shop there, and maybe you can bypass all the trouble that it is creating and developing your own online shop. I would recommend Facebook groups. This Facebook group that I've created has had better engagement than any Facebook page that I've ever managed, and I managed a lot. So if you can generate a group around your brand and not just a Facebook page, look into it. People feel it more as a community than just a brand spitting content on them. But it's a little bit tricky, and not everybody can create a personal group. But investigate and do some research and test around, because it's really way better than having a page. Next question? Yes.
So you say that it's a good idea to create some storytelling about your artwork, so not only illustrate the last chapter, but also all the others. So writing magazines and blogs, would you suggest to promote a more general portfolio we have, or just one singular artwork and illustrate also the story behind it?
Good question. And the answer is everything. Depends on which context you want this magazine to cover your work. You could look into showing a new series of work and saying, oh, the artist XXXX that usually works with X medium and Y format has developed this new series of work that she's been working on, and talks about imagination and creativity and spirit. Or you can look into a more broad storytelling and telling about your whole career and where you started and where you're going and why you do what you do. I think both approaches are valid. It's a question of what message you want the magazine to deliver. Your whole career or a latest body of work. It's usually more interesting if it's the first time you work with this magazine to have an overlook of your whole career. But again, like we're talking about 10 images. Nobody's going to publish 200 images. So you can choose. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about what you've been doing over the last 10 years of your career in 10 images, and give it a very superficial, shallow look on your career. Or maybe you want to give a deeper and more profound look into a smaller body of work. Maybe you just finished a very complex painting, and instead of showing 10 pictures of 10 different artworks of 10 different years, maybe you want to show 10 images of one painting and really have a profound vision of this painting. So nothing is wrong. No, everything is right. So just it's a question of message. Oh. Can you like speak up?
First of all, you mentioned the website where the t-shirt thing. What was the name of this website?
Kite.li. It's KITE.li, like kite.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
It's a WordPress plugin, so you have to have your website on WordPress. But if you do a little bit of research, there are a lot of other tools that do not require WordPress. The names escape my mind right now, but just look into white label print on demand, and then you will have like a list of them.
okay. So sorry, my question was about Facebook advertising. I have an artist page, and it's been growing for years, and I have a good audience. But I feel less and less I'm able to reach my audience with Facebook. So I have thousands of people on my page, but now.
And when people like it each time you post.
No, I feel like Facebook is pushing me to pay them for me to reach my audience.
Yeah.
Which is a bit starting
The
to
thing is,
annoy me because when I put a post, let's say at 4 in the afternoon, and then I see a friend later and I ask him, he doesn't even hear about this, and it's crazy. He's all day on Facebook.
Facebook free trial is over. That's the thing. And now Facebook has become a pay-per-play platform. So basically, the wonders you could do on Facebook without spending a penny, long, long gone. So the thing is, do I think that paid advertisement is worth it? Depends. Depends on what you want to do. If you want to promote something that would bring a return of investment, yeah, go for it. You know, if you're going to sell T-shirts and you're going to sell a 10 euro T-shirt, but you have to spend 9 euros on advertisement to sell one T-shirt, that's 1 euro profit. Do it a million times. You know, you get $1 million. But do you want to maybe make a paid advertisement for your next exhibition? Then you have to think, because that is not a sure return of interest, of investment. So I do think that Facebook advertisement is valid, yes. Just think very well how to do it, or else you're just like buying a new house for Mark Zuckerberg and you get nothing out of it. So you're right.
Thank you. Hi. First I wanted to say thanks for organizing that, because there's so many people that are busy with the subject, and I'm going to sidetrack just for a moment, because I would like to ask, who of you feels is a poor artist? Right? This is why you're here. And who of you thinks that making money is difficult with your art? And what I think that is incredible, what you show, is that it takes creativity to find out new ways to create money, which you all do because you're creative people. But it also takes away creativity to change your mindset. So there's been some really, really great suggestions, and I'm going to self-advertise myself here radically, because I do transformation work for people who are interested to understand how from believing, ooh, making money is difficult, you actually manifest that reality, and you obviously know that it's not, because this is what you create in the world, or you find new ways to create a reality that serves you better, because what I see in you is that you say, hey, let's find out, let's make it fun, let's play. And there's lots of really, really great suggestions given, but I would also encourage you that when you switch on your creative juice that you have as an artist into how you make it into a business, you will come up with even more stuff. So I used to be a performance dance artist, now I'm a somatic coach, so I'm teaching body-mind integrated repatterning of how you can think and act, and I'm giving a workshop on money starting next Tuesday